Hi, it's Mike here from TwoDads. Welcome to another episode of our COVID-19 support sessions. Today's episode, again, is another one which we're really excited to be talking about, and a topic which I feel is incredibly relevant at the moment and is quite a broad topic, which I'm so pleased that we've got someone on that is one of the best medical professionals that can explain this within the fertility industry. I'm honoured to be joined by this particular guest today, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about them first of all, because they certainly have quite a repertoire, and they've just been involved in some incredible pieces of work. So I am joined by Dr. Carole Gilling-Smith, and those of you that know Dr. Carole Gilling-Smith, you'll know that she works at the Agora Fertility Clinic in Hove. She is the CEO and founder of that particular clinic, which is the largest fertility clinic in Sussex, offering both NHS and privately funded treatment. The Agora actually has one of the highest, or the highest, HFEA published IVF success rates across both London and the South East, and was awarded the best customer service at the 2019 Sussex Business Awards. A little bit more about Carole. So she's a consultant gynecologist with particular expertise in fertility and reproductive medicine. She graduated in medicine from Cambridge, and during her specialist training completed a PhD at Imperial College. She's diverse research portfolio and has published and lectured nationally and internationally on a wide range of fertility related topics. We've also had the pleasure in working with the clinic on a number of exciting projects, both surrogacy related and at Fertility Fest in 2019. This is one of the exciting things about Carole, and I hope we get to talk about this. She pioneered the first fertility programme for patients in the UK living with HIV, and remains a national expert in this particular area. She's also developed bespoke fertility programs for those in the LGBTQ plus population, as well as those wishing to preserve their fertility, and that's why she's talking to us today. I'm thrilled and I'm honoured to welcome Dr. Carole Gilling-Smith. How are you?
I'm really well. Mike. And can I just start by congratulating you and Wes on this series of support nugget bits of information from experts all over the UK. It's helping us as experts to find out what other people are doing, and it's helping the patients. So well done, both of you.
Thank you, Carole. Love that. Thank you so much. That's why we do it, and I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Thanks a million. So this episode, we want to talk about fertility preservation. But I think before we do, I think it's really important to let people know a bit more about the Agora. Now, it's renowned for their services to and supporting gay women, who have been a large population of your client base. But also, there's a growing surrogacy service and program developing there too, which again is tremendous news. You're one of the stronger allies, I would say, in the LGBTQ plus community. Can you explain why that is?
We're in Brighton.
Yeah.
We've got, 15% of our population is young, and they may want to have children, and we are there for everybody who wants to have children. I don't make a difference. If you're straight, if you're gay, it doesn't matter. We're all here together to help people have children. So my starting point was when I set up the clinic in Brighton 13 years ago was, here we got a large population of people who want help. Let's find out what sort of help they want. How do they want it delivered? And I've always done that. I did that with the HIV population when we were helping them. And it's respect for people, and it's actually understanding how they want to be treated. And one of the things I found out is that there wasn't information. So that's what I've been doing for the last 13 years. I've been educating and trying to build up as much information as possible for them so they can make informed choices.
Mm-hmm. And slightly off our topic, but education, I know, is something that you're super passionate about. And for those that have seen you at Fertility Fest or have seen all of the other bits and pieces and projects that you're involved in outside of the clinic, they'll know that education is something that you're so passionate about.
Yeah, it doesn't mean reading a book about it. Actually, I'm about explaining with visuals, and communication is really key. Is trying to make a difficult concept or a scientific concept simple for people to understand, so they can appreciate the pros and cons and make a choice. And I do that. I want to do that with young people as well, so they grow up in a world where they know their options for having children.
Yeah, and I've heard the phrase before. You know, we do spend a lot of time telling kids how to not get pregnant, but it's also important to tell them how to get pregnant, and those options as well.
Yeah, and I think it's really good if you know, if young people have come out and they're gay and they're at school, I think it's really important for them to be included in the, you know, in the reproductive educational programs, and for them to feel that there is a place for them in that course, and that they can see their future, you know, just as much as, you know, and a man and a woman having a child in a natural way. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important work.
Yeah, it's yeah. You get us there, Carole. You get us there. Fertility preservation then is a huge topic. It's a broad subject. Explain to everybody what is fertility preservation.
Okay, so we call it freezing eggs and freezing sperm. We don't associate a male or a female gender to it, because that's not what's important. You either are born producing sperm or you're born producing eggs. And for some reason, something comes along that means you might not be able to have children using those sperm and eggs. And there's two categories really. One is things like cancer treatment, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, things like that you know are immediate, and we need to do something about it urgently. That at the moment is the only fertility treatment the HFEA is allowing us to do. So we have been freezing for patients with cancer before their chemotherapy. And the other group is when somebody is potentially going to have a treatment, a hormone treatment or a medical treatment, less urgent, that may threaten their fertility. And the classic example is people transitioning, and trans men, trans women are very good examples where they need to take hormone treatment or to suppress their own hormones and take you know, the female hormone or the male hormone, and that will potentially damage sperm production and egg production. So we need to get those eggs and those sperm in the freezer so they're there for the future if they want to parent.
Incredible. And are you seeing a rise in trans patients contacting you?
Yes, I think we definitely have seen a rise all over the UK in the last 2 years. I think people are talking about it. There is definitely a wider acceptance in society that gender dysphoria is a genuine condition that needs addressing, that needs proper treatment. So we do work with the gender identity clinics, and try to make sure patients are given that information at the point they're deciding, yes, I am ready to start hormone treatment. So we're often seeing them several years into their journey. They've done a lot of psychological assessment counselling. They've perhaps been living in their chosen gender for a year or two. And then we see them at the point where they say, right, I'm ready to start hormones. My consultant has said perhaps I should have a chat. Now, what I've found has been really worrying is there's been very little information for these patients available. And I've spent a lot of time actually putting a lot of information on our website, the Agora Clinic website, because that has been the main take-home message. The other big problem these patients have had is funding. So whilst cancer treatment is regarded as high priority by the NHS, yes, we will provide funding for you to have a cycle of treatment to freeze eggs or to freeze sperm. Transitioning patients have been, until recently, slightly outcast, something I feel very passionate about stopping, because these patients have exactly the same needs. We're really pleased that all the Sussex CCGs have now agreed to fund transitioning patients. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing more and more patients come to us. And they will fund your transitioning if your transitioning is being carried out through the NHS, through the Tavistock. Unfortunately, unfortunately, and it's a big patients are not always able to access the Tavistock. There's a big waiting list, so some patients are coming to us having had to see their consultant privately, and they will not get NHS funding, and that's really, really sad. There is really, really a problem there. There's not enough clinic slots for transitioning patients in the gender identity clinics, but that's one of the reasons that we've seen a rise. I think there is much more awareness and much more acceptance, but the gap at the moment is information and being able to find good, reliable information.
Yeah,
I'm very, very keen that people understand their choices.
Yeah, and I guess my next question has I guess it's been answered, and that's understanding the number of trans patients that are coming through and that rise. Clearly, that you've explained why that rise is apparent. It's down to a number of factors. It's acceptance. It's available limited funding. Do you see many patients travel out of your area to come to you because it's quite known within our community that you do treat a lot of people from the LGBTQ community? Did you find you're having trans patients travel further to you rather than going to a local clinic?
Yes, and the reason really is information. I'm really lucky that I have a trans woman who has been working for me for some time. She's my PA, and Megan's fabulous because they've got a friendly voice on the end of the phone.
Yeah.
That's the first step. It feels comfortable. We can talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
and making people feel at ease when they've gone through so much. It is a hard route to take to transition, and then they've got information. We're doing I mean, at the moment it's great. I'm doing Zoom consultations. They don't even have to travel to us to get a consultation to find out more. And then it's also if you've gone through gender dysphoria, and one of the things that really hurts is talking about your reproductive organs, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that's comfortable. So it's being able to approach that in a sensitive manner. For a trans man to go through the process of freezing eggs involves an IVF process and therefore scans, internal scans most of the time, and an egg collection. That's really daunting. So you need to be able to talk through this, and you need to be able to recognize how that might be very difficult for somebody. And we have specialist ultrasonographers in a position to help them and to talk them through it and to find ways around it if it becomes too difficult to have an internal examination. So I think that's one of the reasons people feel comfortable coming to us, because that's how we've developed the service. We've listened to the problems and we've tried to answer them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And Megan is fabulous, by the way. So you're a huge trans advocate, and what would be your advice to that community? Because we've actually had people message before this has been filmed that have been following the schedule. They know that you're here to talk about a particular topic that's pertinent and dear to them. And that hasn't happened in this series. We haven't had people contacting us before the episode's been released, which tells you that information is really needed. What's your advice to that community when it comes on their quest to parenthood?
Well, we are here at the moment answering questions from everybody. I think a lot of the fear that people are suffering right now is not knowing, and I think that the people in the trans community, that's a long-term fear. This is something we've seen for a long time. So pick up the phone and just feel comfortable to talk to us and ask us. Mm-hmm. And then perhaps have a wander into our website, where I've written some specific information about fertility preservation. There's a special place for trans patients to go to. And I've got a wonderful, wonderful podcast from a trans man, Satch, in our Agora stories, but it's part of our educational area in the website. Wonderful story. And also we talk a little bit about how we are sensitive with the ultrasonography and the internal examinations for trans men. And I think that will be a first place to go. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's perhaps, make an appointment. It really is a simple conversation with an expert, just to allay your fears and to discover these are your options. I mean, I make trans people think about what the immediate would involve, the actual process of collecting eggs, as well as the future. How do you see yourself in the future? How would you use these eggs or sperm? And I paint the picture of how that might happen.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
And I think that's really important to be able to leave the conversation, for them to leave the conversation empowered with the knowledge of what they have at their disposal.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely thing to do, to actually bring some reality to it. That, okay, so what are we going to do with these marvelous cells that we've just we've just got, and just looking forward. Just, I think it just shows a bit more hope, and it probably makes them think, do you know what, this can happen, and we are seeing it happen. So yeah, I love that approach. Are there any other tips that you have then on the topic of fertility preservation? Do you have anything else that you'd like to share before we finish?
Well, I think what's really important is that patients who are transitioning are not alone, and that the information is gradually building up, and to be comfortable looking at that information, but not to be scared to ask the question, and to have some real thoughts. It may feel that right now the most important thing is to live as the person you want to be, but your physical sex hasn't allowed you that freedom. But now I think people should be looking at the freedom that modern assisted conception allows you to not only be the person you want to be, but to be the parent you want to be, and not the point of exploring.
I love that. You give me goose pimples talking to you, just because I love the genuine authenticness and passion that you have within reproductive medicine, but especially within a community that's been denied access or denied freedom to be a parent. And speaking from one of those pieces of community that we've had that right for a while now, seeing what you're doing to continue to normalize that for others is just adorable. So it's been a pleasure, as always. Dr. Carole Gilling-Smith from the Agora Clinic, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike.
If you like what you've seen so far, head over to our website at www.twodaddies.co.uk. There you can read our blog and subscribe to our newsletter. Or find us on Facebook and Instagram, simply searching at twodads.u.k.